Hey there folks, today I'm going to do another iWeb Basics for you. Now in this version of iWeb Basics, it's purely down to the fact of how to start off your website or how to get you up and running. So what you may want to do is, first of all, before you jump into iWeb, sit down and think about what you're going to have content wise on your website. Maybe think in your head on how you can have things laid out or how they're going to look graphically, all these little things in the background. But what it is, when it comes to that you actually do decide to go in and jump into creating the website, there's two things you could do. Certainly you could use Apple's own presets, which they give you plenty of options and they give you different versions of pages to have for your website. So for example, this is one I've just randomly selected here. Now they've obviously done quite a few bits and bobs, showed you that you can do these photos, you can change your text, have all these little icons, you can move these around, so on. Now obviously you would go in and change all this to what you want, but it looks quite standard to it. Now what I've always done is, in the past especially, is I always had a standard system background and I just changed everything on the main page. Does the job, there's no problem with it, but it's just if you were doing more advertising for your website for people to come and do shopping or whatever, then it may look quite I don't know how to put this really. It's more on the fact of that people won't want to shop around a website that looks too simple. Okay, so another option that you could always do is you could open up a blank page. So there's literally nothing here, just white background. They give you these standard buttons here. Okay, so for instance, you can have your title to your page. They've put this line in as a divider between your navigation bar and your main text. Certainly you can use these navigation bars if you wish to. It's a bit awkward of where you can place them because they will only go at the top of the page at all times. Some people may like them down the side of the page, or other down the side, or diagonal, whatever you want it to. But they're quite standard that you can only then go between certain selections. Again, same on here, that you'll have welcome and blank, so that should take me to blank once I have it set up. Now what I've always done is I always try and make my own buttons, because it gives you much more flexibility, but it does take you time to make them. So what I'm going to do here is, certainly I'm going to show you on how to make your buttons and how to get rid of certain things. So what I've done here is I've put my inspector down the side of my window. Now your inspector will do a lot of stuff for you. In this situation, to get rid of the navigation bar, the standard navigation, you've got a little picture in the top left hand corner. It looks like a bit of paper. It's called Page Inspector. You can go page or layout. So for instance, on this one I want to go page, and it says include page in navigation bar. So that'll remove the blank page, which is the name of this. So if you want to make more of a private page, you can always do that, or if you want to get rid of it completely. So there we go, got a nice blank page now. There's nothing left on here. Now one little tip, if you do decide to use a preset one, try seriously not to use darkroom, because there's so many websites out there that use darkroom. It's always been a fan of people that are just straight away trying to make a website, especially YouTubers. They want to try and make a simple page. They jump straight into that and change the text. It looks quite nasty. It looks very nasty actually. And there's so many websites out there that use this that it then becomes too common. Whereas if you have the blank page, a lot more flexibility can come into it. So anyway, just as I've run through that, I'm going to show you how to make a simple navigation bar. Now you can do whatever you want to do in this situation. One thing that's always handy is you've got a shapes function down here. It gives you all these different shapes. So you've got stars, you've got speech bubbles, diamonds, triangles, circles, squares, whatever. What I've always tended to do when it comes to buttons is either use these two functions, either square or use square with curved corners. So for example, let's do this. We just simply have standard square, and you can adjust it to whatever you want it to. So as you'd expect with the navigation bar, they're normally either going to be long, top of the page, and they're not going to be too intrusive, because you don't want to have a navigation bar that's going to be like that big. It would look quite horrible. You want to make it look quite nice and sleek. Little blue button here lets you change these corners So you can have it so it's actually completely curved, or you can have a bit more of an angle on it if you wanted to, just again to give more customization. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select that, and in this situation I'm going to get rid of the line around the edge of it, because if you add a line around it, it kind of separates from everything, and again it looks quite standard. So what I'm going to do is use advanced gradient fill. Now it takes a little playing around with these, take your time, learn it as you go along, but what it allows you to do is have more of a function layout, so you can actually be off the ordinary. So in this situation I'm going to try just rotating this. So if I put this at 280, so we know it's exactly level to it, you can change so which way it comes out from, there's loads, and then you can slide these depending on how color filled you want it to be. There's loads of functions. Let's just keep on turning this. Actually we'll have it so dark's on the bottom. There we go. Alright, so if I stretch this out again, you'll see that it managed to fill the complete page. And what I'm going to do here is I've added in a third colour, so it just tones it that ever so slight more. So I can have it extreme dark on the bottom, or light on the top, or even in the middle. So I'm just going to tweak this about here. So there we go, we've got quite a nice looking bar straight away. It stands out quite nice and neatly, but so far there's no buttons on it. Now this is where things can get a little bit tricky to it, but the best way to do it, and you'll certainly learn as you go along, is copy and paste as your best friend on something like this. So certainly if I wanted to make a button to add onto this, I'm going to copy that page and paste it so it's exactly the same. I'm then going to square off the corners, and then I'm going to shrink this down to whatever size of button I want it to be, and again copy and paste that a couple of times. So then what I can do, I think I just accidentally destroyed one of them there, but still. So now if I drag that on top of there, it's going to blend in straight away and you don't notice it one little bit. Now that gives you a little bit of function to it, but even still, if I had text sitting on these, I can't see where one button ends and one button starts. So one of the little things you could do is do something the same with one of these, copy that, paste it again, but just try changing the color on it ever so slightly. So let's just have it as a color fill. I'm going to have this as a dark gray, and then I could sit that on top of there, and then I'll shrink that along. Okay, now there's a reason why I've done this, is because of the fact that the curved ends, I wanted them to stay the same, but also when I add these, I want to bring these to the front so I can see them. I can actually squeeze them down as much as I want here. Again, bring to the front. Now you want to make sure you try and get everything equal if you can, or everything symmetrical, because if there's something that's not symmetrical, it looks odd straight away. So I'm just going to notch that down one more, there we go, and hopefully I can fit one more in. Looks like I can actually, that's bang on the right size. So just shimmy that along one. Okay, I was just ever so slightly out, but again I can just stretch that over. Just make sure I get this right. Again, one notch over, and then this you can just shrink down. There you go. So there is actually a very simple button bar. Oh, actually I'll just do undo. Undo is also a very good friend on this, I must admit. So there we go, we've actually now got some buttons to it. Now one thing that I've always noticed, if you want to have text on these, people generally make a text box and they say, in this case we'll have it as home, and what they used to do is people used to shrink that down as small as possible and try and have that centered to it, but they would never look perfect. They would always either be off somehow, or then they'll start lining up with other stuff. It was a nightmare to it. Okay, so one thing that makes it easy is just double click or triple click in some cases. You want to go to your text function and just center that text, and then do whatever typing you want to. Again, center it and then type, and center again, and video, just whatever you wanted to. You've then got some buttons to it. So let's say this last button, oh, wrong thing, we'll have this listed as shop. So there we go, we've got a nice little feature to it. Getting these ends is just about adjusting them ever so slightly so you get them just right. So I think I've made that just slightly too long there. I think that's about it there. So there you go, you've got a very simple button function. If you want to try and make things either bigger, longer, or wider, whatever you want to say, for instance, it starts to go off the page, you can adjust your page. Again, go back to page layout, go to layout again, and you can customize everything here. So for instance, content width, I'll try putting that as 900. And there we go, it's stretched a lot more. Still borders to it, but it's stretched a lot more as well. One little and last tip for this video is certainly, as you can see, when I'm shaking this around, it's giving these blue lines down the center of the screen. Those are guidance lines. They absolutely do help. So that'll find the exact center point of whatever you're dragging or moving, and finds the center point of your page. They can come in very helpful. On some things it can get a little bit annoying, because if you're ever just trying to nudge things over ever so slightly, they start to take over. You can turn them off. If you go to iWeb in the top left corner, go preferences, and then under alignment guidance it says show guidance at object centers or show guidance at object edges. You can turn them on or off. Close that, and then you'll notice when I move this now, there's no blue lines showing me where the center is, so you have a lot more customization there. Now I hope this video has helped. Certainly you can leave any comments down below, I'll try and get back to you. You can tweet me on Twitter, my link is down below as well. Or certainly if you want to see more videos like this in future, please subscribe and rate, and there will be a lot more like this. Thanks, bye.